Hello and welcome back to the Replay Studio. We're here with another episode of Alice in Borderland, episode 5. Last time on Alice in Borderland, 4 of clubs. A team game that felt more like a spades game. For the most part, I mean, it wasn't a game focused episode in my mind. It was more about Arisu overcoming his the loss that he felt in the previous episode, having lost Shota and Karube, and seeing a reflection of himself in these other individuals. They met three persons for their club's game, and then he saw this other guy lose his two friends, and I felt that was sort of a way to kind of close out that chapter for Arisu, for him to come to terms with the loss. And he gave the guy the same advice, live so that you can tell your wife, and well, he told one guy that, to live so that he can tell his wife and kid about his friends. That guy died, but the other guy lived. So I mean, the same advice goes for him as well. It was more about Arisu just realizing that he needs to go, he needs to move forward, he needs to live on, if not for himself, for the memory of his friends and the sacrifice that they actually made for him. So that was a pretty good episode as well. The game itself, as I mentioned before, even though it was 4 of clubs, it felt more like a spades game because they had to jog to a destination, although they didn't really have to jog since they were already at the destination, which meant it wasn't really a spades game either. Would have been a diamonds game because they just needed to figure the puzzle out, and they would have been fine. So it's clear at this point that whoever the game master is just messing with everyone. All right, it's just messing with people because whatever suit is on, you're told the game is for the it doesn't really matter. You kind of just have to figure things out as you go along. So, but it was still really well done. I'm curious to know why that character didn't really stay with this team. Although he has an injured leg, I don't see him surviving much longer. But whatever. It's just Arisu and damn it, I keep forgetting the girl's name. Did you even get her name? But it'll come to me. So they're together now and they're heading towards the beach, which does answer a question that I raised before, that okay, they don't have to stay at a particular location. They can just go to any game arena that they actually want. I mean, I'm trying to, at the very least, figure out how these games can be played without without the loss of life. How Arisu can actually play the game, win the game, without either he dying himself or others dying as well. So I made some propositions in the last and the first episode as well, as to what my theories are as to how they could have played the game a bit differently. So if you guys have any thoughts about those, I'm sure to check the videos and just let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on how they could have succeeded in the game, and win successfully without having to sacrifice several people or lose several people at least. And I mean, as I said, I think for our characters, there's just 2 of them now. But if they do meet new people that join the group later on, don't go to the same game. I mean, don't go to the same game. If the threat of a Hearts game is imminent, when your visas are up or about to run out, do not go to the same game. Easiest way to avoid a hearts game, unless the game master somehow forces you to go into the same game, because you don't know where the game would actually be. So that's a possibility as well. But yeah. All right, guys, I'm ready to start episode 5. Let's check it out. Game already. Our team has gotten some days on their visa, so they shouldn't need to. Where are these guys? Oh, okay. They're doing some reconning. Trying to find out about the beach. Maybe talk to people who aren't about to risk their lives.
俺のビザもあと3日。
Oh. Just don't go to the same arena, guys.
今は1分1秒無駄にしたくないんだ。
Good. Now he just needs to not be so careless in the games. I mean, sleeping under the stars sounds fun, but you do not want to sleep on the ground. Believe me.
ゲームの参加者10名くらいかな。チーム組んでそうな奴らもいる。そっちは？
こっちは4名参加するふりして聞いてみる。
使うようなやつ。確か鬼ごっこの時も持ってきました。
Alright. You saw these two guys wearing one.
そいつらチーム組んで。
Okay. That they stumbled onto something.
クリアした連中が出てきた。やっぱりだ。ロッカー機つけてる。
こっちは3人出てきた。別れて歩き出した。
Alright, so this is some kind of group that just attempts the games together and they work together. I guess that makes it easier.
車は前浜方面に
Or
向
are
か
you
った。
guys gonna follow them on foot? You guys are not gonna keep up. Unless they aren't going very far.
ビーチ。
Oh, okay.
あれだ。なんで電気ついてんだろう。
Oh, okay. You guys are not very good at the whole stealth thing. Who is this?
ようこそ理想の楽園ビーチへ。
I already don't trust him. These aren't game masters though, they're just other players who just know how to play the game better, I guess. It's quite a collection.
教えてあげよう。この地獄のような悪夢を終わらせる方法はただ一つ。ゲームをクリアして全てのトランプを集めること。
Interesting.
世界が戻るんじゃない。選ばれた一人が元の世界に帰れるんだ。
One person returned if they collect all the cards.
だからこそ同志諸君が一丸とな
That
ること
doesn't
で
make any sense though. I mean,
その一人を
so who
出国させる
decides who actually gets to return?
それこそがビーチの目的。
断ったら。
断れないよ。
Don't think you're in a position to reject
君
his
の
offer.
ビザ、今日で最後だ。
You could just be telling them BS to get them to play along. I don't trust this guy. I don't trust
ビーチ
him.
の中では必ず水着着用。
Okay, that explains why it's called the beach.
水着なら
Somewhere.
武器の隠しようもないだろう。安全だ。
Can't hide weapons. Okay.
ルール2、カードはすべてビーチの財産。まず、君たちが集めたカードを
That sounds like a shitty deal.
私たちが預かる。
I'm gonna give you all the cards that I collect, and I may not even be the one that gets to leave when the cards are collected.
一人目の出国者を出した後も、ナンバー順に第2、第3の出国者を出せる日も遠くない。
Seems to me that you're better off trying to collect all the cards on your own.
全員が出
I mean,
国で
it'd
き
be
る
a
日
lot
は
more difficult to survive, yes, but if the previous game was an indication, you may just end up getting sacrificed anyway.
断ったらどうなる？
Alright, I'm glad Arisu isn't buying into everything immediately.
ビーチのルール3、裏切り者には死を。
Traders, I just got here. Just let me leave. And you can continue your little playhouse thing. I'll just say yes for now and then just get the hell out of there afterwards. Oh. He was missing the 7 of hearts.
あーとも7だ。我々はついてる。では
Higher rank
存
number.
分にビーチを楽しみたまえ。
Okay. Maybe stay just for a little bit. Relax for a day and then leave, okay? That's one day.
我々全員で全てのカードを揃え、元の世界へ帰ろう。そしてそれは間もなくだ。
Yeah, I don't think your lives mean much to him.
必ず生き残って
So you have to participate in the games even if your visa hasn't expired? Oh,
使えるかもしれない。
Blondie's here.
俺たちのくらい。
Didn't notice him wearing a wristband earlier. And who's the cute girl? They've done a great job with the CG for the animals, though. The panther from before and now this tiger. Ah, man. That requires some upper body strength. It's not fair. Oh. Punch the tiger. He's having fun.
呼んでいいの部屋は9
I would suck there because I have no idea how to play bingo. Some interesting characters. He has on a wristband, so he's from the beach as well. Some interesting characters we've been introduced to.
うちクイナよろしくな。
Greena's pretty cute.
よろしく
朝、急に水が噴き出して溜まり続けてます。
Ah, newbie from the second game.
なんだよこの部屋
エントリーを締め切りました
What's it gonna be?
ダイヤの
Finally, I was waiting for a game like
記念すべき
this.
最後のダイヤか。
Game of wits.
4
The number is pretty low, so I
電
guess
球
not that hard, but light bulb.
電球のスイッチはどれ
Let's switch turns on the light bulb. I heard this was to figure that out.
A, B, C 3つのスイ
Alright,
ッ
so
チ
it's
の
one
中
of
で
three.
電球がつくスイッチ ドアを開けた状態で
One
スイッ
check,
チ
one
オンで
guess
きるのは一度だけ
while the door is open.
ドアを閉めていれば何度でもスイッチオンが可能
Alright, so if the door is open, you only have one chance, and if it's closed, you have any number.
部屋に誰かいるもしくはスイッチがオンの状態などドアはロックされ動かせません
Alright, so 1 in 3 chance of getting it right if the door is open. You can just guess, but I don't think that's smart.
水面が電線に触れればゲームオーバ
電線
Okay. Why would you touch that? Okay, so that's the timer when the water gets to the electrical wire. No, the door won't close if you do that. So you have to figure out a way to
ドアを開けたまま A のスイッ
test
チを押せ
more
ば
than one switch when the door is closed.
でも電球がつけば A つかなきゃ B か C50% までは絞れるでしょ
No, not 50%, man. Your math is way off.
ダメ 50% でしょ
Huh. The door closed.
扉を開けたままスイッチをオンにしてつかなかったら他の2つのスイッチのどっちがいいか決めるしかない
当てずっぽうで
Don't have a lot of time.
かけるしかない
7人の命を
Let -1. Oh, so she's already figured it out. Interesting. Alright, so she's the intellect on the board of executives.
アリスもうそれやろう手遅れになる
They seem pretty relaxed.
本当にいいのアリス
Door closed, door closed, door closed. I mean, they don't have enough time. If they close the door, they could flip a switch, wait a while, maybe the bulb warms up, and they can check it that way, but they need enough time. It's still... If the first switch isn't the right one, you know, it has to be on long enough for it to build up heat. I don't know.
そのままなんなの
頼むで
Come on, you're waiting too long. You don't need to hold it that long, really. Has he never touched a bulb before? You just need to know if it's warm. Not, it doesn't have to be hot. Eliminate 2 options. But if it wasn't A, they would have died. Alright, so it's A.
Congratulations.
Good job. You really didn't need to hold it that long though. You just needed to be warm, not hot. And these people are partying already. I mean, some people must have died. They've already forgotten about it. They do seem pretty close.
もう明日には死ぬのかもしれんのやし
何言ってんすか
I like this chick, she's very direct. What's her name?
おかんは病院で寝とる
Lena?
一人で便所も行けんおかん置いてこんなとこ来てもうたせやから生きて帰りたい
Alright, so I guess that's why she's fighting. Okay, so he's a pretty big deal
ビ
here.
ーチで平穏に過ごしたいんならあいつらには関わらんことやな
Kuni.
ビーチで権力を握ってんのはナンバーワンのボーシア率いるカルト派と
Okay.
今はギリギリのところで秩序は保たれとるが2つの派閥がいつ衝突してもおかしくない状況や
I know you.
どうした
Oh. Yeah. Karubi didn't make it.
そうか、死んだか。
Damn.
おい、この女連れてこい。
はい。
Why?
やめとけ関わん
Yeah, you guys should get out of here the first chance you get.
揉め事かね。
The Hatter's
混んでる
here.
帽子や。てめえは関係ねえ。
俺はナンバーワンとして秩序を守る義務がある。俺の顔に免じて新人いびりはほどほど
Let them
に
all
しよう
from
か
what? They didn't do anything. Doesn't that break his rule about traitors if they're not loyal to him? Not that that's even a good thing either. I don't trust him. I don't trust either of them, but sounded more like a question rather than admittance.
シャワーを浴びてこい。幹部は会議室に集合だ。アリス、君もだ。
Maybe he can get some power here at least. Otherwise, it'd be best to get out of this place. You guys are.
でどうだった彼？
What are these two scheming?
気に入った
And I like her. I have a new crush, okay? It's Kuina. Kuina is my crush so far. Jack, King, or Queen. And I don't see the Joker unless that's not a part of this
ハートの銃は
scenario.
今までゲームに出現していない。
Has anyone searched outside of Tokyo?
都内のゲーム会場の調査は継続。
Yeah, I was curious to know whether this game expands outside of just this city.
俺もそろそろビザを補充しておこう。
I was wondering about that, whether he participates in games himself or just takes a bunch of people and tells them to go and
次の
meet
ゲーム
the
に参加
objective
す
and
る。
just sits.
ハートだろうがスペードだろうが。百戦錬磨の俺がクリアしてやろう。ハートの銃出現まで持久戦だ。
How do I get the feeling he's not very good at the games and he's just a facade that just uses people to collect cards for him? Which begs the question as to why this guy, follows him. I played games.
Neat.
What's a neat?
俺は歌舞伎町でホストクラブを経営してた。
Yeah, a club manager. Interesting.
死んでも天下取ろうっつって。ホストは客に舐められたら終わりだ。うちには徹底的に叩き込んだよ。でもそれがあいつを追い込んでた。
He seemed initially, I got the impression he was a very silly, fake individual, but he has a backstory, an intriguing
今思え
one.
ばあいつの死は必要だったんだよ。
Okay.
俺を成長させるために。
成長
Still feels like he's a wannabe gangster, that's not really deserving of any power, but feels he does. But I guess that fits in with, the Hatter of this world. Character is supposed to be,
には
untethered and a bit,
悲劇が必要だ。
unhinged.
対2のビーチに
We all have a past. All right. Episode 5 of Alice in Borderland. Another interesting episode. A lot of information dropped this episode about the world and how things actually work. At least supposedly, because we're getting this information from the Hatter, which in my mind is something of an unreliable narrator. So, but we'll come back to the Hatter in a bit. First and foremost, we want to talk about the game itself. As I've said before, I want to at the end of each video to at least discuss the games that, assuming we get a game each episode, and just kind of dissect how exactly the characters have gone about solving the puzzle versus the what other alternatives they could have used. But I mean, in this particular game, there's not much because no one died for one thing, so it's the best possible outcome. And I think Arisu solved it in the shortest amount of time, assuming that the girl said she figured it out sooner, but I don't know. Took me a while to get it. Of course, I do think, I mean, he got the answer through a process of elimination, but, yeah, I was thinking that perhaps, okay, if the bulb didn't light up, he could have just, if he had enough time, we didn't have a timer in this particular episode. It was just when the water level rises to the electrical wires, then you die. But you don't need the bulb to get hot, per se. You just need it to warm up. And with that, he could have just, theoretically, he could have done the same thing for all 3 bulbs with the door closed. He just needed the bulb to be warm, not hot. So he could have just held it for, and I guess, again, this depends on how much information you have, because depending on the type of bulb, whether it's fluorescent or compact fluorescent or incandescent, so it may depend a whole lot on the type of bulb that was there. But for some, he could have just left the switch on for less than a minute, a few seconds, and he could have checked each switch. But again, that depends on the bulb, and so his way may have been the best way through the process of elimination. Test the first one, use his freebie with the door open to check the second, and if it wasn't warm with A, then it's automatically C, and if it is hot with A, then the answer is A. So through process of elimination, he did get the correct answer, but I do wonder if he couldn't have just tried to test each switch, just trying to warm it, not make it hot, because when she touched it, it was, it burned her immediately. So he could have used a fraction of that time to have just tested each bulb. But again, depends on the bulb and information that you have going in. But yeah, it was solved, no one died, and yeah, that was definitely an interesting game. So I like the Diamonds games. Hopefully we get more of those. Not to say I don't like the others, but the others aren't very straightforward, because they can be one or a mixture of several things. Spades mixed in with clubs. This was very much a Diamonds game, which I guess does rely on teamwork to some extent, right? With that, of course, Kuina is my crush for this series so far. We've had a few scenes with her. I just like how we got a bit of a backstory for her. No flashbacks, but she did talk about her mother, who relies on her to take care of her because she can't even relieve herself and stuff like that. But she was very direct and funny, and in that scene where she was interacting with Arisu, and I keep forgetting that girl's name, Usagi. Yet somehow I immediately remember Kuina's name. But yeah, I like Kuina. I like her a lot. So we'll see. Hopefully, we see her with blonde dude. I don't think we've gotten his name. So they appear to know each other, and of course he is a member of this executive board that runs the beach. So let's get into the discussion on the beach itself. The Hatter, I don't know. Initially, he just came across as someone who was a pretend gangster who has this facade of strength but is very weak. in and of himself, and he just relies on others with power around him, and that may very well be the case. In the final scene here, in his telling his story and the club that he ran, he's he you get the impression, I mean, he has strong convictions, at the least, as to what he hopes to accomplish there. But I think they're right. The head of the military, if you want to call it that, because I don't know, they're supposed to be, keeping order, yet somehow they're fine with just picking random girls to basically rape. Yeah, that doesn't seem, that's not a whole lot of order. That's not somewhere that you would want to stay. So I would say Usagi and Arisu need to hurry and get the hell out of there, because that's not somewhere they want to stay. And I mean, what's keeping them there really? Because when the game starts, everyone gets to leave and go join a game. There's nothing stopping you from not returning to the beach. So why go back to the beach when you know that, well, I suppose they didn't learn how volatile everything is until that very moment, later on. But still, he threatened you in the very first scene, and death to, anyone who's a traitor. So I wouldn't be staying there. But it'll be interesting. Arisu is now, I guess, one of the executives. That seemed a bit too convenient to me, in true anime fashion. I mean, they said they were considering him before. I suppose because he provided them with the Seven of Hearts, but I don't know. Just random individuals just because they have a card. That seems rather a very odd way to select who gets to join the executive board. But then again, the entire infrastructure, the entire structure of power there doesn't seem to be very... Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a rational one built on people with any... Well, maybe not. Because there do appear to be people there who are skilled and have, they have a skill set to add to the Hatter's team that he surrounds himself with. The girl that went on a mission with Arisu, that one guy that was talking about analysis and so on. But no one with strength appears to be on his team. They all appear to be behind the military guy. They said his name, but I've forgotten it. Yeah, so we'll see how that works out. I don't think it's somewhere to stay. I think Arisu and Usagi need to hurry and get the hell out of there. Maybe try to get their Seven of Hearts back, because that card was difficult to come by, and I would not want to go through it again. As far as the collection of the cards and the world, and this notion that if you collect all the cards, you'll return to the real world. What exactly is Hatter basing that on? He's, from what he said, he's not really been in contact with any game masters or anything like that. He just said he's done investigation, but what the hell does that mean? So is that actually how the game works, and that's the way to gain your freedom, or is this just something that he just tells everyone? And if that is the case, who gets to select who returns? He says he's number one, so I'm assuming that he would get to go home first. And how would that be fair? If I played, for example, the Ten of Hearts, if I played the Ten of Hearts game, and if it's similar to Arisu's game, where I had to sacrifice my friends, just to get that card, why on earth am I going to give that card to you when you haven't earned it? So there's that dilemma. So who gets to decide who goes and who stays? But the people at the beach seems to have, reserved themselves to their fate here, because I mean, they're partying all day, having fun, drugs, sex, just partying, because this may be their last day on Earth, or wherever this is that they're actually at. So they seem to be comfortable with that. But yeah, I don't know if I would be. I do not know that I would be. I think it's if the rules are what they are in terms of returning home, then you're better off working with a closely knit group, much like Arisu, Shota, and Karubi were. That didn't work out too well, but that's really on their inexperience, right? But he does have Usagi now. I think it's best you two leave, try to gain the cards on your own. Um, I mean, the best, as I said, the best thing you can do to avoid the hearts game is just don't play in the same games. You don't know what the suit will be until the game starts, so just don't go to the same arena, you know. But it'll be interesting to see how that actually works out, and I suspect something will happen, as they've said, between Hatter and this military guy, because they clearly don't get along. And when he asked him who's in charge, he didn't answer. He answered with a question, you know, and say, "Isn't that you?" Right? So he clearly doesn't feel he's fit to be leading. So I would get the hell out of there before that you know, that dispute actually becomes something worse, especially since he has an eye on Usagi already, trying to take her earlier on. So I would not wait for that to happen, because if he overthrows Hatter, then he's coming for Usagi, and there's nothing that Arisu can do to prevent that. I don't know if they're going to be a couple or not, though, because they had a few awkward moments, and I mean, this is based on a manga. It happens. There are going to be situations where they find themselves in. The 10th scene was funny earlier on as well, so they're going to be in some awkward situations where, you know, the will they, won't they thing. I don't want them to focus too much on that, if I'm being honest. That's the one thing that's always, I do not particularly love when anime follow that trope. It's a trope at this point because it's been done so many times. The idea of the, you know, and as long as they don't go down the whole harem route with multiple girls and, you know, is this gonna happen? Won't this happen? I'll be fine here. If it's just with Usagi, I'll be fine. Just do not do the whole harem thing. It's nonsensical. Yeah. So I mean, or who knows? Perhaps it will be Kuina. I'm rooting for Kuina because I like her very much. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. Be sure to post down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode and your thoughts on the game as well and how you would have solved it. Be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.